I recently returned from a quiet week with my family in the suburbs of Los Angeles. It was really a true gift to have the intimacy of sharing a household with my parents and my sisters and my new brother-in-law and the 3 Megdal family dogs. It was a lot of fun. And at the same time, we heard the news of the threat of war in Eastern Europe, with our hearts centered on the people at risk in Ukraine, including over 200,000 Jews today. And many of us American Jews have family members, have family histories, have ancestors who once lived in those lands. My grandmother's family was from a town near Lvov, which before World War II was Poland and is now the modern Western Ukraine. So how do we hold these 2 realities? Relative peacefulness at home on the one hand, as our COVID numbers are going down and down, thank God. We will have kiddish lunch today, thank God. And at the same time, there's a very real war happening now. Our Torah teaches us to build in times like these. In the face of uncertainty, when there is so much that we cannot control, we try to build something good. In the detailed instructions for building the Mishkan, the portable tabernacle, the portable sanctuary, which the Israelites carried through the desert, the Torah reminds us that building is life-affirming. Dr. Aviva Zornberg, a really brilliant modern literary commentator on the Torah, teaches that the Mishkan is a therapeutic project. A therapeutic project. It comes at exactly the right time in the Torah narrative. This is a time during the part of our Exodus story when there has been great upheaval, when the Israelites are recovering from a profound crisis of faith. Recall that in last week's Parsha, while Moshe is on Mount Sinai receiving the first set of tablets of the 10 Commandments, the Israelites become anxious. They haven't seen him for 40 days, and they are terrified, understandably terrified, that they have been abandoned in the desert. And so they beg Aaron, Moshe's brother, to come and make for us a god. Moshe, who brought us from the land of Egypt, we do not know what has happened to him. And so Aaron, of course, we know, collects their gold jewelry and fashions an idol in the shape of a calf, which the people begin to worship. And upon discovering this idolatry, God and Moshe are furious, and this is the betrayal that leads to the shattering of the first set of tablets. And so in the rubble of a relationship that is broken, literally and figuratively, and in terms of meaning, this therapeutic project of building the Mishkan is about making amends and also about healing. When I was with my family a week ago, I was not thinking about the Mishkan. On the advice of one of you kind souls, I focused on my family. I was focused on them. But I did notice that, like the Mishkan project, building was happening all around me at my parents' home. My family members are all actively creating beautiful things that are meaningful to them. My sister is a brilliant attorney by day and embroiderist by night. She sits beneath a large lamp, picking from rows of every shade of every color of thread, and she moves her needle back and forth around these hoops that hold the fabric taut. Her latest piece, which I love, is a beautiful rendering of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's Collar of Dissent. She's making an embroidery rendering of that. My other sister is an amazing veterinarian, and with her new husband, they have become, during the pandemic, serious plant people. They're building a wall of plants in their apartment. And they have apps on their phones which guide them with a hilarious level of detail about watering, the precise timing of watering and light and soil. And so it is no surprise to anyone that the ecosystem of their living room is thriving. And she sends us pictures all the time. My mother, after she finishes her day of work and helps everyone else with what they need to do for the day, she is working at designing a Japanese-style garden in a small outdoor space to the side of the house. So she's picking paint colors and looking at water features and pathways, all arranging everything with such detail and care, because she believes in the potential for creating sacred space in order to bring a sense of peace, in order to bring calm. My father is a computer scientist and an engineer, and so he is always building something for his work, which I can barely understand. It has to do with measuring tiny magnetic fields. But these days, he's also engaged in a large-scale building project on the roof of the house. They're installing solar panels. And so he's always up there sort of managing and making sure that everything is being installed as planned. And while I was there, I was very brave and climbed up on the roof. The ladder was not as sturdy as I would have liked. But to bear witness to his project, a glorious row of solar panels on the roof, which he's very proud of. And for him, it's important to transform, the California sun into a sustainable energy source for the house below. And so that is his building project. During my week of rest, I learned from my family that creating something with fabric or in soil or on a suburban rooftop has the power to ignite the imagination and to soothe the soul. Will our embroidery or our gardens or solar panels help those suffering today in the world who need peace? Of course not. But if we engage in the world with a posture of constantly and actively searching for ways to build something good, to reach for goodness at whatever scale, then we are building a modern Mishkan together. We are engaged in this therapeutic project, in the words of Dr. Zornberg. There's a teaching in the Talmud. This is very special. It's the very last few lines of Tractate Brachot, blessings. The very last lines, there's a drash. So the rabbis make an interpretive teaching on the saying, which you may have heard before, Talmidei Chachamim Marbim Shalom Ba'olam. Torah scholars increase peace in the world. And so the Talmud looks at the source for this saying, which is from the book of prophets from Isaiah. And this is the verse. And all your children, the word for children is banayich, shall be taught about God, and great shall be the peace of your children. And all your children shall be taught about God, and great shall be the peace of your children. They then engage in a word play, which they love to do, on the word for your children. So they suggest instead, do not read your children, banayich, read instead bonayich. So who knows what bonayich could mean? Your builders. Exactly, yes, thank you. In other words, great peace, great shall be the peace of your builders. Builders bring peace to the world. So how can we be builders in the spirit of building the Mishkan? And how can we, at whatever scale, bring peace? There are, of course, many ways, and I certainly don't have all the answers. I have one idea. The Jewish Federation of Greater Washington created the Ukraine Emergency Fund this past Thursday. On a Thursday, in a day, created this fund, which is one immediate way we can contribute to building something which will hopefully bring some measure of comfort, some measure of peace to the Jews in Ukraine. This is how the Federation describes the project, that the Federation, together with partners on the ground, are coordinating to ensure they can swiftly meet emerging and urgent humanitarian needs of the 200,000 plus members of Ukraine's Jewish community. And so I hope, whether it's contributing to this or some other therapeutic project, that we can take on this responsibility to be builders, to create something good, to build something that heals actively, physically, spiritually, and that together we can support each other and continue to be builders of peace. Shabbat Shalom.